Daria, I feel like something's wrong with the way we live and the world right now. I can't explain it. Am I just overthinking?
Look around you, Tom. Inequality, poverty right next to massive wealth, endless wars, climate crisis getting worse. It feels hopeless sometimes. At the same time, you got the ruling class offering simple answers, blame this racial, minority group or that, or just shrug and say, it is what it is, that's life, that's natural. But what if there's a way to understand the real root causes of these problems? A scientific way to see how society actually works and how it can fundamentally change? That's what dialectical materialism offers.
It sounds complicated. What's materialism means?
Materialism tells us to start with the real, concrete conditions of life, not just people's ideas or intentions. Why is there vast inequality? It's not primarily because some people are hardworking while others are lazy in their heads. It's rooted in the material economic system that we live in. Who owns the factories, the land, the technology, the means of production, and who has to sell their labor to survive. These material conditions as the economic base shape society, create classes, and generate problems like poverty and exploitation. And importantly, these material conditions are always in motion, always changing.
Right. So how does dialectics help understand social problems then?
Dialectics is the method for understanding how change happens within these material conditions. It shows us that everything is connected. You can't understand, let's say, the problem of poor healthcare access for workers without looking at the profit motive in medicine, the low wages paid by employers, the government policies influenced by corporations. It's all linked within the capitalist system. You can't fix one part in isolation, so everything is changing. Think about how social movements for civil rights or women's rights have emerged and fought for change, or how new technology, like the internet, changes how we communicate, work, and organize. Society isn't static. It's a process of constant development and transformation. And this is absolutely key for social issues. Change happens through struggle and contradiction. Society isn't a harmonious whole, it's full of opposing forces with conflicting interests. The most fundamental contradiction in capitalism is the class struggle, the inherent conflict between the bourgeoisie, the capitalist class that owns the means of production, and the workers, the class that must sell its labor. Their material interests clash. This struggle is the main engine driving social change. This change often happens in leaps. Pressure builds up, maybe rising unemployment, increasing protests against injustice, worsening economic crises until society reaches a breaking point. Then you can get a sudden fundamental shift, like a revolution that transforms the system itself.
So dialectical materialism helps us see the connections, the conflicts, and the potential for big changes behind the social problems we see every day? Why is that so important?
That's because if you don't understand the root causes and the dynamics of change, you can't effectively fight the problems. Bourgeois politicians and media offer superficial explanations. They blame individuals, offer tiny reforms that don't change the structure, or tell you, this is just how the world works, get used to it. They want you to feel powerless. Dialectical materialism shows us that problems like exploitation, inequality, war, and environmental destruction are rooted in the material economic system, capitalism, and its inherent contradictions. It shows that real change comes through struggle, especially the class struggle led by the working class. It gives us, the working class and its allies, a scientific method to analyze our situation, understand who benefits from the system and who suffers, identify the forces pushing for change, and develop effective strategies for revolutionary transformation, not just putting band-aids on a diseased system.
So it's really a guide for understanding the world and concrete actions?
You got it. It connects theory and practice. Now dialectical materialism gives us the general laws of how everything changes, which we can see playing out in social conflicts. But how do these laws apply specifically across the grand scheme of human history? How do they explain the rise and fall of different social systems, like feudalism giving way to capitalism? And how do they pave the path from capitalism to socialism? Understanding that specific historical pattern, well, that requires applying dialectical materialism to history itself. That's called historical materialism, and it's the key to unlocking the secrets of our past, present, and future struggle. But that is for another discussion.